Hello and welcome to a new episode of Mountain Stories. Today, we bring you something from the Swiss Alps, the famous Matterhorn. This episode is about the fates on the Matterhorn in the last 5 years. For this we have researched for you as far as it was possible, all places, participants, nationalities and causes of casualties from 2018 till 2022. We hope you enjoy this episode. Don't forget to follow our channel to make sure you see our next episode. But let's do some basics on the Matterhorn first. The Matterhorn is with 4,478 meters above sea level, one of the highest mountains in the Alps. Because of its striking view and its climbing history, the Matterhorn is one of the most famous mountains in the world. For Switzerland, it is a landmark and one of the most photographed tourist attractions. For all the people who don't go in the mountains, they may know the Matterhorn from the Toblerone chocolate. The Matterhorn was long considered impossible to climb. On July 14, 1865, the British Edward Whymper, together with 3 mountain guides and 3 Englishmen, succeeded in reaching the summit. Only 3 people survived the descent. The story around the first ascent is another one that we may cover in an upcoming episode. Feel free to let us know in the comments if you'd like to hear more. The notoriety of the Matterhorn ensures that many people want to climb it. Due to the death of Lord Francis Douglas, who was part of the first ascent but died, the British Queen at the time, Queen Victoria, wanted to issue a ban. She said she no longer wanted valuable English noble blood to be wasted on the Matterhorn. Her request fueled the curiosity and drive of British alpinists. From then on, British travelers and alpinists came in droves to Zermatt to see and climb the Matterhorn as well. The tourist development of Zermatt thus took its beginning. The notoriety continues today. Whoever wants to climb the Matterhorn has several routes to choose from. It either can be climbed over the ridges or through the walls. There are 4 routes over the ridges. The northeast ridge, better known as Hernligrad, is the normal route up the Matterhorn. The difficulty is ZS+ with rock climbing 3+ according to UYA standard. The second ridge tour starts in Italy. The southwest ridge or Lion Ridge has the same difficulty as the normal route from Switzerland, the Hernligrad. ZS+ and rock climbing in the upper 3rd degree. Alternatively, there are 2 more. The northwest ridge or Tsetemutete Grot with difficulty S and rock climbing in the 4th degree. The last one is the southeast ridge or Forgengrot with difficulty SS and rock climbing in grade 4+. These 2 routes are more difficult and much less frequented than the first 2 routes. However, if you find the ridges too easy or are looking for a greater adventure, you can try it through the walls. The Matterhorn can be climbed through the walls of all 4 directions. The difficulty here is SS or SS+ and climbing up to 5+. Up to 3,000 climbers attempt to climb the Matterhorn on these routes every year. Of these, 70% take the easiest route, the Hernligrad. Unfortunately, not all climbers make it back home healthy. Since the first ascent of the Matterhorn over 150 years ago, there has not been a year in which someone has not died on the Matterhorn. Meanwhile, there are more than 500 people dead, and about 20 people are still considered missing. The Matterhorn is therefore the world's deadliest mountain. In the following we show now all single fates of the last 5 years from 2018 to November 2022. The first victim in 2018 was a 65-year-old Russian. He was in a 3-rope team on the Forgengrad. On Friday morning, the 15th April of 2018, the last of the rope team fell at 3,800 meters. The colleagues in the rope team were able to intercept the fall. However, he suffered such severe injuries that he unfortunately died. 12 days later, on 27th of April in 2018, a 37-year-old Spanish mountaineer fell. He was alone at 3,800 meters on the Hernligrad in the descent. There he fell 500 meters down the east face. On the 14th of April 2018, a 67-year-old Japanese man was found on the Hernligrad at 4,100 meters. He was already dead when he was found by a mountain guide. He is the only one in the 5 years who did not die from a fall. 4 days later, a tragic accident occurred on the Lion Ridge. Here, at 4,400 meters, the first of a two-rope team fell, dragging the second along. Both Austrians, 25 and 28 years old, fell 1,200 meters to their death. Thus, in 2018, 5 people lost their lives on the Matterhorn. About the first accident in 2019, unfortunately, our research has not revealed much. Known is only that, on 20th February 2 Poles aged 40 and 43 years at the Hernlegrot fatally fell. The two were only reported missing on 22nd by a family member. On 23rd, 3 days after their accident, they were found by Aert Zermatt. Both were not secured with a rope and fell about 500 to 600 meters onto the Frucht Glacier. On 3rd of April 2019, 24-year-old Brit died during his descent. At 3,380 meters he abseiled with his 2 companions. In the process, a boulder came loose, and he fell 300 meters to his death. On the 15th of July 2019, a tragic accident occurred. 3 Koreans who wanted to explore the Hernlegrot before their ascent got into bad weather surprisingly at 3,900 meters. After spending a night on the ridge, they tried to find a better protected spot. The following day, while rappelling there, one fell down the east face. If you're interested in more tragic stories with sudden weather changes, check out our mountain story on the death on the Annapurna Circuit. You will find a link in the description. So, let's continue. The accident 9 days later on the 24th is certainly one of the most reported one in the media of the Matterhorn's accidents in 2019. A Chilean mountain guide was with his guest on the Hernlegrot. At 4,250 meters, a large rockfall occurred. This tore the mountain guide and his guest 800 meters into the depth. The mountain guide was 38 years old and had only recently come to Europe to guide guests. The cause of the rockfall is attributed to climate change and the associated melting of the permafrost. We also have a video about the melting of the glaciers in 2022 in the Alps. Also check out the link in the description. The last accident in 2019 was a Korean. He was traveling together with his partner. Later they separated. While descending below the Salvi hut at 3,700 meters on the Hernlegrot, he fell 200 meters and could only be recovered dead. Thus in 2019, 7 people lost their life on the Matterhorn. In 2020, only 2 people died on the Matterhorn. This low number is certainly related to the beginning of the corona pandemic. Many huts were closed, and many travel options were limited. The first person had a fatal accident on the Hernlegrot on the 12th of August 2020. A 39-year-old Pole fell down the east face. He was found only 3 days later. The second deadly fall of 2020 was also a Pole. The 26-year-old was on 7th of September 2020 with his partner on the descent on the Hernlegrot. 150 meters below the Salvi hut at 3,850 meters he fell fatally. Both were not roped up. As already said, in 2020, 2 people lost their life on the Matterhorn. The year 2021 began as 2020 ended. On 29th of September 2021, 2 Poles were in the descent on the Hernlegrot. Around 6 p.m., the 2 separated. One of the 2 then fell down the east face above the Salvi hut. He was 37 years old. On 20th of October 2021, 2 Swiss climbers died on the north face. This is the only accident that happened on the walls. All the others were on the ridges. The 2 Swiss were roped up and were climbing when they fell at 4,100 meters. The 2 were 24 and 25 years old. Only 4 days later, on 24th, a 30-year-old Slovenian fell while on the Lion Ridge. At 4,400 meters he fell 1,000 meters into the west face and could only be recovered dead. These were already fortunately all fatal accidents for 2021. 2021, 4 people lost their life on the Matterhorn. In 2022 there were 3 fatal accidents in July, but relatively little is known about them. On the 5th, 2 Swiss fell at 3,580 meters on the Lion. Both fell 450 meters deep to their death. Only 9 days later on the 14th July another Swiss fell on the Lion. At 4,300 meters he fell 30 meters and died. He was descending. The last known accident in 2022, at the time of making the video, occurred on 26th of July on the Hernleygrot. A 51-year-old Irishman was in the descent at 4,000 meters altitude. There he fell 350 meters into the depth. These were all tragic accidents of the last 5 years on the Matterhorn. Although perhaps not sufficiently provable statistically, the accidents of the last 5 years show three things. Most accidents take place on the normal route. Mostly on the descent. Most of the dead are men. We hope you were able to take something away from this mountain story. If you liked it, please leave us a like. This helps the channel to grow and motivates us to create new stories. Make sure you follow the channel so you don't miss the next mountain story. Until then, take care, and thank you for your interest.